Has your favorite IP gone off the rails? Are you tired of your favorite character being misused and mistreated? If so, Ther-I-P is the show for you. We put your favorite characters and intellectual property on the couch to figure out the best way forward, with the hopes that everyone will love these characters as much as we do. Because sometimes we could all use a little therapy.
All right, what is up, people? Welcome back to another episode of Ther-I-P. Before I introduce my guest and our IP that we're going to chat about, please just take a quick second, smash that like button, go ahead and subscribe to the Grown Egg Geeks channel so you can get all this fresh, piping hot content that we're putting out for you guys. But without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to introduce my guest. He's a homie of mine. It's like one of those weird new age internet friend things. He's a writer, producer, actor. He's a founder of the podcast Black Men Can't Jump in Hollywood, one of my personal favorites. If you know me, you know I've recommended it to you numerous times. Wrote and starred in Netflix sketch series Astronomy Club, Young Dylan, all that, the new Good Burger movie, all kinds of stuff. But tonight we have James III here to talk about Jurassic Park. James, say what's up to the people.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the intro. That was a lovely intro. I appreciate it.
I do what I can. Get my Steve Harvey on. If you follow James or you know James, this is an IP that is very close and near and dear to his heart, which is why I wanted him to come on here to talk about it. I like bringing people on to talk about things they actually like, so we're not like, I don't want to be the He-Man woman haters club of nerd content out there. But today we are talking about Jurassic Park, the Jurassic Park franchise. So
Yes.
We always like to kind of start off understanding why our guests really love a certain IP or where they got into it. So James, just take a minute, tell everybody, where you got on board with the Jurassic Park franchise and why it means so much to you.
Okay, this is a story I have probably told on every podcast I talk about Jurassic Park on, which has been numerous. But I remember seeing it back in '93 when it came out, 1993, and the neighborhood went to see it. It was like one of those movies. It was an event movie. Everybody wanted to go. I feel like this is connected to why I like it so much, besides dinosaurs and all that shit. But I ended up sitting next to the neighbor girl, who I thought was very pretty. And there's a memory that I still have from seeing it. I have two memories from actually seeing it. One is there's that part when they rescue Ian Malcolm after the first T-Rex attack, and the Jeep is going through the jungle and they have to duck under the tree, and then the T-Rex bursts through the tree. And I remember at that moment we both got scared and jumped towards each other. And I remember the moment of like us seeing that, and and then seeing her and everything. And then I remember after everyone got pogs. They handed out pogs with the tickets, and I remember looking at the pog, and that memory is also seared in my brain. And I just had a great time. I was upset, and I think at the time as a kid I was into dinosaurs already, like a lot of kids are. But I was like, I'm gonna be a paleontologist. I knew all the names of all the dinosaurs and stuff like that. And the rest is really history. I have dinosaur bone in my wedding ring and a quote from Jurassic Park, interpolated quote from Jurassic Park on the inside of it. And so it is still with me to this day.
So like around 93, you would have been around how old?
Seven. I want to say. Yeah.
Okay. I think I was 8. So we're around that same age.
Yeah.
And then the Pog, like regular Pog or a slammer?
I don't remember it well enough to know for a fact what it was, but I think I remember it having like some fray to it. So I think it was a regular pog. I don't think it was a slammer. I think it was like something that I later destroyed very quick, very quickly thereafter.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that the Jurassic Park slammer would have been, school bus gold right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I did not see Jurassic Park in theaters because my grandmother did not care about seeing any movies in theaters unless it was like slave movies. Like we was in theaters on Christmas Day to see Amistad, but a bunch of other stuff is like my aunt didn't take me to see it. So that was one of the ones. My cousin, they used to rent videos from Blockbuster all the time and just keep them forever. Like they didn't care about late fees. And so my cousin, when I would go over to their house, they would be watching Jurassic Park like all the time. So I've seen it like 100 times on VHS, the first one, which is probably better for me because I feel like at that age, had I I seen it in theaters, it would have probably been a little too much for me. I have a overactive imagination and
Yeah.
I have vivid dreams whenever I see stuff like that. So, but I definitely remember like enjoying it. It was like scarier than I thought it was going to be when I first went into it because, you know, I feel like on the commercial they are selling it as like a dinosaur amusement park. But then it's just like, yeah, but then things go like terribly, terribly wrong. And I remember, you know, I learned. That's where I learned about what like a velociraptor was. I wasn't a huge dinosaur kid. Like the dinosaurs I was into was more like Power Rangers.
Right. Yeah.
Because of that connection, but I wasn't like a kid who like had dinosaur books and was learning all the different ones. I was kind of just like, yeah, dinosaurs, they used to live here. That's cool. I was definitely more of like a comic and cartoon kid than a dinosaur kid. So obviously we talk about the first one. There have been many
Yeah.
iterations of the Jurassic Park franchise since then, mixed reviews and feelings
Art.
throughout pop culture on how those go. I kind of
Yeah.
want to get into, you know, how it remained a franchise that you really were like you ride or die for, even amidst
Mm.
all the tumultuous nature of the spin-offs, if
Yes.
to put it lightly.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about that specifically. I will, but before I go down that road, I want to comment on you talking about how scary the first one is. I think that how scary the first one is has a lot to do with the success or lack thereof of some of the later movies. The first one to me, even though the story that I described of watching it, of like remember getting scared at the same time with a neighbor, my next door neighbor, I remember the movie being fun. Like I remember it being
Yeah,
fun. I remember like I had so much fun. And then when I find myself talking about like later movies and like the varied grades of how scary they are, and I remember saying that I thought Fallen Kingdom. I was like Fallen Kingdom. Phew, that's like the scariest Jurassic Park movie. And then people were like scarier than the first one. Like people had that reaction, and I was like, and in my mind I was like, the first one's scary. Like I couldn't even
no, the first one was scary.
and so what I think I'm talking about when I say that that one's the scariest one or one of the scariest ones is like they are going for horror
Mhm.
imagery in a lot of moments in ways that the franchise doesn't go to as much in a lot of the other ones. And like the first one is so scary because of how it's the most grounded of all of of all of the like you feel like you're there, you feel like you're experiencing the stakes, you're connected to all of the characters because we know who they are, we realize them as real people. And then like, you know, the second one throws 100 people at you. It's like they're
Right,
all dealing with it now, and you're like, well, I don't
right.
who do I care
Yeah,
about,
this
what
is
do
a
I
lot.
you know, it's
Yeah,
like if it's harder to do, you know. And then the third one is smaller scale and has some thrills in it, but they were really going for comedy, like and so was the second one, I think, but like really going for comedy in that way that like a later sequel would. So all of that to say, I do think that like the thrills is something that is why people like like approach it and feel differently about a lot of those later movies. For me, I just enjoy Jurassic Park so much that like you really couldn't go wrong. You couldn't go wrong. Like you're doing a Jurassic movie. I'm gonna see this. I'm gonna love this. I saw Jurassic Park 3, which for a long time I even said is like the worst one. I saw that 3 times in theaters. That's the most had seen anything. I like I won a contest. I remember the WB or Fox or something at the time was doing like the local station was doing like call in something, and I like calling, and at the time that they were saying the numbers on the screen, I had the number plugged into my phone so you could hear the dial tone hit as they were calling. It was like 1-800. You could hear the beep 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 beep, beep as he was calling. Like I was so ready to try to get this. So I saw it so many times, had a blast seeing it. And like what I'll say for the world movies that came out is like while those movies retreaded a lot of the same ground that the earlier sequels did and the earlier films did, they were just trying to do something new. Each one tried to do something that the last one didn't do. Contributes to the staying power of you know the Jurassic franchise, apart from it already being just a massive name, a kind of an IP that when people hear about it, they're like, well, you know, the first one being historic, you know, and then
Yeah.
and then just sort of that being a reality. It's like people are gonna try to go see it regardless, but I think like they are constantly trying to reinvent themselves and constantly trying to do something new, which I think is why it sticks around.
I think like going into like scary, it's actually funny. Like I didn't see the first one originally in theaters, but when I was living in LA, the church that I went to would do like this movie night thing at I think there's like a theater in like the Griffith Observatory, and like they did a showing of Jurassic Park, and it was crazy because the scene where the T-Rex is chasing the car,
Mhm.
like the first time when they're like in the rain, like when the T-Rex is chasing, literally there was an earthquake
Oh, wow.
during that scene. So it's like it was it almost turned into one of those like Disney like ride, like where you're in the chair and the chair is
Right.
moving. But people were just like, some people didn't even feel it because they were so engrossed in the movie that it was just like, oh, I thought that was just like the rumblings of like the Dolby surround sound. And I'm like, no, I'm not from LA. That was definitely an earthquake. The ground was moving. It was just, you know, the perfect timing for something like that to happen. But yeah, I think that's really interesting in terms of like actually calling out the fact that they've tried to do something new. You know, later on we can kind of talk maybe about whether that was good or bad
Right.
for the franchise, but we like to be constructive. I'm gonna be honest. There's a reason why Jurassic Park is on this show, because it definitely has some issues that maybe we can discuss right now. You know, if you feel comfortable bringing those to the table, I
I
can
mean,
throw
we have
some
to.
out. You can throw yours out. You know, we can start with you because you're the guest, and I'll piggyback on what you come up with.
I'll also just say, like, I think that the common issue with Jurassic Park is going to be very different than what I say. Because, like, I'm like,
Okay.
because some people are waiting for the movies to be smart again, like they're waiting for them to be smart commentary on genetic power and the hubris of
Mm,
man and all of this stuff, and they're not trying to say much new. And like, and I read both of the books that Crichton did, and they are, I mean, that first one specifically is great. They really go for, like, you have an idea of who the villain or villains are, and like it's very clear who those people are, and they all get their comeuppance. And then, you know, when
right.
they adapt it to film, it's like, well, John Hammond is played by Richard Attenborough, and he's Santa Claus, so he's gonna be a good guy. You know, like it's like we can't
Right,
he
right, right,
can't
right,
I mean, he did something wrong, but you know, we can't have him mutilated by the end of this movie,
right.
and stuff like that. And you know, and so then that starts to kind of color. So all of that to say, I'm not so much waiting for them to be smarter again. I like going on adventures in movies. I don't really, you know, so long
Right.
as I'm like
I don't
having
want to watch
fun.
a movie in a research lab. Like
Right?
that's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
my idea of a good time.
Exactly. But I do feel like what they did with the world trilogy and the subsequent spin-offs, there's all kinds of animated shows and stuff, and like there's a short film and all. I find that world building very interesting, but they did something with the trilogy that I think Star Wars also did, where they made a trilogy that like when you watch the three of them back to back, they don't mean anything to each other. The first three also don't mean anything to each other. It's
Right.
sort of like
Right,
that
right, right.
first movie and then like just a bunch of stuff after it, you know?
Yeah, 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 for sure.
And and to me, that's the kind of issue that I have. Like I would rather them try to like keep building and keep growing. I don't need I as much as I'm a fan, like I don't need Alan Grant to come back. I don't need Ellie Sattler to come back unless you're gonna actually do some new stuff with them. I don't need them to come
Right.
back and be like, remember us? Like, yes,
Right.
I do. I watched your movie 100 times. Like I
Right.
do remember you, you know.
Right. That
Um
movie still exists. I can
it
just
still
go
exists.
back
I can just
and
watch
watch that.
it. Yeah. It's sad too that like Jurassic Park 3 trolled us by being like, "Hey, Ellie and Grant are back together." And then they're like, "You know what? No, they aren't." Psych. Psych. That's actually, there's a complete misdirect. She's married to this other guy, and that's going to come back later because we need, you know, we need a Deus Ex Machina at the end of this movie. You know, so like Dominion becomes this thing where it's like it just feels like we're treading over old ground while also trying really hard to show like all of the new stuff that the franchise can be. And to me, that is frustrating and unfortunate about it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then all of that to say, the only one I didn't like out of all, like I liked Jurassic World, I liked Fallen Kingdom, even though there are whole scenes in Fallen Kingdom. I saw that 5 times in the theater, even though there are whole scenes in Fallen Kingdom that it would be like, I can miss this. I'll go get some
Right.
snacks during this scene, you know. But there's stuff about that one that I think it is some of the best stuff, like things some excite like that opening sequence is really thrilling and more fun than any of the opening sequences since
Right.
the guy gets killed in the first movie, since Joffrey gets killed in the first movie. Like that, no shade to the other opening sequences, but that it's so fun that they're like, they, for those of you who have not seen it, they are going back to the new park, to the island, to retrieve DNA from the new dinosaur that they created at the end of the fourth one. And in order to do that, for some reason, one guy has to go on foot to, it's great. While a submarine is like going down into the mosasaur tank, and it's just like, all right, well, we got we got a mosasaur
Yeah.
over here, and we got we got a loose T-Rex over here, and it's just fun to see them all get eaten. You know, see everyone that
Yeah.
gets eaten get eaten. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting because I never really thought about like that in terms of like kind of the connection to like Star Wars sometimes, but it is like if you're building this world, like what is the connective tissue? And so like one of my issues kind of I guess is a little related to that is because it does feel like they're not like exactly related to each other, but you are bringing back some of the same people. So I'm just like, there's no way, like, if I'm Dr. Alan Grant, I experience what I experienced in Jurassic Park 1, and by Dominion, I'm still just like
yeah.
pro dinosaur. Dig what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like one, I feel like the success of Jurassic Park almost made it where if you write a script about a dinosaur movie, people are just gonna be like, well, yeah, okay, we can either we got to make this a Jurassic Park, or people just gonna call this a bootleg Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah.
So let's figure out how we can make this Jurassic Park. And usually it's like, well, just change this main character to one of the people from the original movies and call it a day. Or we rebuild the park, but we putting this world back together, and we're building on the same like land, even though we're calling it Jurassic World. It's still
Right.
just Jurassic Park for most
It's
of the movie.
that same
So
movie that we already saw.
yeah, exactly.
I had somebody actually tell me, an executive tell me, I was pitching ideas for a like a program, not to actually make, but it was like, oh, this is something I would make if I got this grant.
Right.
And the thing she said to me was like, "Do you think there's room for this with Jurassic Park?" Like it had to do with dinosaurs and stuff. And
Right.
she was just
It's
like,
like
"Is there?"
Jurassic Park has just swallowed up all
Yeah.
the dinosaur content. Anything you make is just like, that's a fake ass Jurassic Park. It's like, damn, bro, dinosaurs can be for everybody. Like it
Right.
don't
They
have to
own
be
dinosaurs?
Jurassic Park. Yeah, it's like the success created a world where there can be no competition, but then it's just like, but you're also not building on yourself in a way where it's like sustainable. Because like for me, the biggest thing that I always say about the Jurassic Park movies, where especially like when you look at Park and World, why would anybody, after what happens in Jurassic Park, why would anybody go to this theme park?
Right.
Like you're not about to tell me, like even like I think we had this conversation about Camp Cretaceous, where it was just like,
Right.
I'm not
Just gonna let your
sending my
kids.
kid to this park. Like once I find out what happened when they originally tried to open it, like there's nothing, no safety standards, no nothing you can tell me to get me on that island. And frankly, like y'all also are making flying dinosaurs. You're not convincing me that those things are just staying where they
Yeah.
are. And y'all putting dinosaurs in the water. You're not convincing me that those are
So
just
you
staying where
just
they
don't
are.
believe, you don't believe the world trilogy could even happen
Well, it
because
just it doesn't make logical sense because they just keep harping on this idea that like people want to go to a theme park full of killer monsters.
right.
Because
Right.
if you were building like if you came back and you were like, all right, this is Jurassic World. We've killed all the carnivores.
Yeah.
It's only herbivores. Is we got Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus and only stuff that you'll get trampled, but you're not about to die because something's hungry.
If
You know what I'm
you
saying? You're not about to be lunch.
So what I do buy into, or at least you have to suspend your disbelief in order to watch it. So what I did buy into was this idea in 4 that, like, not only have they done this, but people are bored now. like I
Right.
like I and so it like sort of creates this need for like even you describing, like, yeah, you just have Stegosaurus and you have, just as if that would be
Right.
but but it's like but
Well, I ain't got
you
no killer
they
dinosaurs
got no,
around
but
here.
I do feel like people would be like, well, where the T-Rex at? Like, I ain't going to that. They ain't got no T-Rex.
But then I would just be like, okay, here's the video about why there's no T-Rex.
Right.
Back in 1993, we had a T-Rex. That motherfucker got loose and ate everybody.
Right. And also,
What a velociraptor! You have, like, do you understand what a velociraptor is? Like, you got all this
yeah.
technology. Make a virtual velociraptor thing so somebody would know what would happen to them if they actually
But
did
then
meet
that's
some
making me think
velociraptors.
about, like, the people that would go because they want something to happen. Like the people that, and this they
Well,
do
that's a
kind of
different
have,
movie. I would
they
see that.
kind of, right, yeah, exactly.
Like, I
They
would see,
kind of
oh, I'm
do that.
trying to survive Dinosaur Island, and I'm going
Yeah.
in with guns, and I'm going in. Well, see, that's skipping ahead to how I would fix it, but I would see that movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we going like Jimmy Buffett running away with his 2 margaritas. I'm not understanding this. Like,
Right.
I'm not understanding the logic that you're building into your world, where this is the response to a tragedy like Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
because there was kids there. That was the whole thing that made Jurassic Park like scary for me even as a kid. Like, this little boy is like close to my age, if not a little bit younger. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to Jurassic. Like, as fun as Jurassic Park would sound if somebody handed me a brochure, once I have seen this little boy and what he went through, I don't want no parts of it. Especially, I need to know what all dinosaurs going to be there before I even give you a commitment. If you tell me
Yeah,
any
I need
sort
to
of
know what dinosaurs are gonna
carnivorous,
be there. Then I need to. I'm a wiki them. I'm gonna look them up. I'm gonna see what their
exactly.
skills are.
Because I'm like, oh, he's small, yeah, but he spits out acid. I seen him with the Barbasol can. I know how that goes. Like, you just not you're not gonna sell me the
But then
coelacanths. They be tearing
can I
stuff
ask
up.
this? Can I ask this question though? You don't think that they didn't do everything in their power to put that stuff under wraps? Like, granted, a
Like, to
T-Rex,
keep it from getting out that it
yeah,
happened.
that all that stuff happened. Now, granted, a T-Rex did go loose in San Diego at the end of the second one. So, like,
Right.
so people are like, okay, there's a big ass dinosaur running around, But then
Yeah.
even that, like, I was just watching. This is a different thing, but I was just watching Monarch, that series set in the Godzilla universe,
Hmm.
and one of the things that they say in the first episode is like, "Oh, you hear what happened in San Francisco? That was a hoax," and they just like people just don't believe that it happened, and I especially in today's age, or even back
Yeah.
then, if somebody
Yeah.
was like there was a T-Rex, and, like, even if they had pictures, which they probably don't have too many of them, but
Right.
if they had pictures, I'd be like, I don't think that.
But I get that for like Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. But now when we go to Jurassic World, because not only are we on here with the T-Rex,
Mhm.
the Velociraptors, who just like, came out of nowhere in everybody's public consciousness, like the most dangerous dinosaur assassins we ever heard of. But now, after all that's happened, we also are building like even more killer dinosaurs that can camouflage and fly and do like we are now, like, we didn't learn even just from like putting
No.
frog DNA that these, like, frogs can change their gender and do what's necessary to survive. Life finds a way. Like, what do you think the invisible killer flying T-Rex dinosaur hybrid is going to do? Like, stay
Truly.
inside this enclosure? Like,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
evolved to the point where it tricked y'all to thinking it was gone, so y'all could open the gate so it could leave. At this point, no, like, we don't need new dinosaurs. Like, why y'all not making no new herbivores?
Right.
Why y'all not making a T-Rex that's vegan? Everything got to be killer.
Yeah, well, what are the
And
Yeah, you have to think, what are the applications for that? So, like, so you and they and to a degree, they go into this with the locusts in 3,
yeah,
in Dominion, that is.
right.
But the and in a lot of the other like side things, they talk about other hybrids that aren't just killers. But like, you have to think what the implications are. And an herbivore that is modified in some way was probably great for farming, right? And but you're gonna make your most money with military application. Like you're
Man,
gonna
fry
make
some of them dinosaurs up, bro. Let's see what a dino steak tastes like. Fred
you
Flintstone
can't
them was
spend
eating them,
all of that money on
bruh.
on a steak.
Throw him on the grill. I want to tell you, I want Stegosaurus tail soup. I want all that. Like, I'm not going to Jurassic. Like, look, I went to Australia. I ate kangaroo. I'm not going to Jurassic Park and just eating a burger.
So this is kind of going into what I think is a problem with the later ones that I think they actually could have explored too. Like people got to be out here, like once they get all over the world, hunting them, trying to put them into food, doing all my
Every
biggest
dinosaur cannot be precious at this point.
right. And my biggest they can't no, they can't. They can't all be like, oh my gosh, looking in awe at them it's like
Yeah,
we've all seen.
yeah.
But
We saw the news.
my biggest issue with the Worlds series also is like the second I saw that title, Jurassic World, I was like, oh shit, they about to be all over the world. And then they don't even do that until the third one of those. And then when which I guess I should technically say 6, but then when they do it, we only really see them all over the
But
world for a little
once,
bit, and
yeah,
then
it's a
they're like,
montage.
actually, we're back in an enclosure. We're back. And
Yeah,
it's like, what are you talking
it
about?
really does have the same Star Wars problem. Like, this is supposed to be a universal problem, but it's the same family. It's
Yeah,
on the same couple of planets that's messing everything up, and you get a little glimpse of what happens on this little world. Like, yeah, seeing like the dinosaur in the frozen tundra was like seeing the little boy with the broom who could use
right.
the force, but it's like we're never going to actually like explore
Right.
that. We
Right.
just gonna keep going back to the same damn island. Like, where's the drone strikes? Where's the US military?
Yeah.
Where are the worldwide regulations?
And they're hinting at it, right? They're hinting at
Right,
all of that stuff. And to bring it back to Star Wars just one more time, but like The Last Jedi does a thing that I think Fallen Kingdom does, which is like halfway through when they're like Rey doesn't matter to the story. It feels like it's saying fuck Star Wars. Like it's actively
right.
saying fuck Star Wars.
Yeah,
In the middle of Fallen Kingdom, they blow up Isla Nublar or Isla Nublar. I say it like Isla Nublar. That's how
yeah,
John Hand said it. That's how I'm gonna say it. And blowing up that island, that is like literally destroying my childhood. They were just like, you know what? Fuck
right.
this. We're not going back here. They like told us we're not going back here. And then for no reason at all, Dominion was like, not only are we going back, we're getting everybody back. And
Everybody's going
we're
back.
gonna go to another enclosure. It's not the same thing, but this is the best we can do, and it was just like, well, if you're gonna blow up what I most connect, then really blow it up, like really,
Right.
you know, let me
Like, the
see
whole point
somebody
of blowing it
grilling.
up was for it to be world, so we
Yeah,
can't keep coming back here.
we
Now
can't
we
go
have
back.
to go somewhere else.
We
But
can't
now
go
you're
back.
just making this thing somewhere else. Yeah, I think that probably does encapsulate probably the biggest issues that I see, like, with the franchise, like, as a whole. Not going into like specific issues with individual movies, but just like the issue with Jurassic Park as a whole is kind of that reluctance to build on itself in a realistic kind of way for the sake of kind of retreading the things and almost
Yeah,
trying to recapture that same exact magic that you got in the first one. But the
yeah,
reality is, after the first Jurassic Park, things have to be different because humans, I mean, ideally, humans learn and progress, and things change. Once a dinosaur goes through San Diego, the world should change and how it
yeah,
feels about dinosaur. Once what happens in Jurassic Park 3 happens, the world should change. Once another dinosaur attack goes wrong at the same park, and once we didn't learn the first time, fool me
yeah.
once, shame
Right.
on me, fool me twice. can't fool me twice. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like they're just like, nah, but what if it was still just like dinosaurs in a park? And it's just like, okay,
You
but what
can't.
if it was actually Jurassic World?
Yeah.
So that goes into, moving forward into our next section, because I like to be constructive. I don't want to just harp on the problems, but I'm always coming when people's like, if you got an issue, you should be able to like at least give a suggestion of how you would fix it, what you would do. So I know I'm giving you your dream assignment right now,
Yeah.
but what would you do? Like, just even just like moving forward, building on this world, reboot, however you would want to approach the Jurassic Park IP. Like,
Mhm.
what would you do to like kind of get its footing back underneath it?
So the first thing I say is I think they're doing a good job with bringing back David Kep, somebody who I was like, man, he ruined Jurassic Park when it was just him writing the sequel, the Lost World. But I feel like since he was a part of those first two movies and has continued to be a prolific screenwriter since and before, I feel like he's going to understand what it needs now, if that makes sense. So like in terms of what they're actually doing, I think that we have a potential of having a really fun next movie, that next one that's coming up. Now, what would I do? I think that what they've already kind of started to set up makes a lot of sense. I would start telling more stories around the world and like contain stories, like sort of like what's happening with these major cinematic universes that are like trying to tell slightly different stories that have been told before in the Star Wars like series and in the like Marvel series. Still early days of all of these, but they're trying to figure out how to like branch out and be different in that way. When I was in high school, I always thought it would be cool to see like the other sides of some of these stories. So like I this is going to sound crazy, but I always, and maybe this is from the books, but I always thought that it'd be cool to see like a biosyn story where we're just dealing with Lewis Dodson in a lab, and one of his experiments goes wrong, and it's a horror movie with it was not locusts, but it might have been locusts, but some kind of like swarming bug, which is why it's crazy that they had that in this movie, because it was like I've been thinking of that for 20 years or whatever. I also feel like you can tell stories of like you can tell prequel stories. You can tell like what happened on island Sorna before it went to shit. The island from the second movie. Like what was that like? What was people's day-to-day like? They didn't have enclosures there. That was just an open people worked there. They had plenty of buildings, plenty of different, like what was that like? What were the rules of that world like, And then in just thinking about Jurassic World, the idea that it is all over the world, I loved that short film that they did, The Battle at Big Rock. And it just followed like a family going camping. Near them, like a triceratops or some kind of herbivore, it gets attacked by like an allosaurus, and they're just there like while this is happening. To me, personal stories about people around the world dealing with dinosaurs is super interesting. Like I would love to just see more of that. Not Fallen Kingdom ends with Blue in like an Los Angeles suburb or in like a California suburb, like ET, where they live in ET. That's where we see Blue at the end of that movie. Like just a movie where a bunch of people are like at home and there's just a fucking velociraptor in their town. Like, what would that be like? I don't, something like that would be a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
So stuff like that, I think would be interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm on this I'm on the same kind of vibe. I think it needs to be more of like an anthology series. Like
Yeah.
there's too much scientists, anthropology at this point. Like at this point, we know unless you're introducing like a new dinosaur we have not focused on before. I really like in Camp Cretaceous that they have a dinosaur companion.
Yeah.
Like, because that's not something that we've seen in the Jurassic Park world yet, because all they really care about is showing us the killer dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, somebody got a pet Ankylosaurus. Somebody got to pet
Yeah.
something, or somebody trying to figure out how to train these. There's a black market. There's all this stuff that has to be going on
Yeah.
across
A
the
a
world now.
Sorry, you saying that just made me think of like a "Don't tread on me" type guy with like a
Right.
fucking he just has like instead of keeping an alligator or something, he has an armored dinosaur. Or that
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I would
Yeah.
watch I
Yeah.
would watch that.
Because it's like, all right, like enough with the part gone wrong.
Yeah.
Like enough with the like we riding motorcycles through the city and V in the flying V with dinosaurs. I don't know what is going on, bro. Like I'm not following this because if it's gonna because it's also like if it's gonna be this, if it's gonna be an action movie, then I need like we are in a world where we have brought dinosaurs back to life scientifically. That means we need to have Power Ranger suits,
Yeah.
something like we need to have it needs to be Fast and the Furious with dinosaurs.
Which
You know what I
they've
mean?
talked about, right? Like I don't know if anyone ever serious talked about it, but for a while they were like they're going to do a
Yeah.
crossover. Like
Yeah, but it's like, where's the like squad of soldiers, like Halo, Spartans that are tasked with going around the world and eliminating like
yeah.
dangerous dinosaur threats in certain towns. A group that is recurring throughout our anthology series as well. In some movies, they're the heroes because they saving people from crazy dinosaurs, and then some movies they're the bad guys because the town has come to love this dinosaur and they have to we're starting to see the difference in the dinosaurs because right now it's just like every dinosaur that y'all show us and focus on, it's like, okay, we get the like awe and wonder from our herbivores. All right, we got enough of that. Everybody's comfortable, bring out the killers. And now it's time for everybody to start running. And so
Yeah.
if we have this Jurassic world where dinosaurs and humans are having to learn how to coexist, we have to be able to show that outside of just us seeing the people who worked at both iterations of Jurassic Park. It's got to be, we can't have a Skywalker family
Right.
in Jurassic Park that's just like dictating how everything goes, because even the things that they do isn't necessary. Like in the first three, yes, because it was very contained, but now that it's not contained, like what's the dinosaurs doing in Africa?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
dinosaurs doing in Australia? Like, the dinosaurs versus kangaroos. Like, I don't know. Like, let's let's get crazy and like really like explore this. And we don't need Chris Pratt to be in every story. We don't need Bryce Dallas Howard to be in every story. We don't need a lab in every story, because I think part of that is dinosaurs start like seeing the dinosaurs is just like part of this world now
Yeah.
and not part of the park. And I think for me, that will just inject something new, because you can still get the uneasiness, you still get the suspense of the first one, but it doesn't always have to have the same exact result.
Yeah.
And I think that's what like could freshen everything up. Show us more dinosaurs fighting each other. I love that at the end of Dominion. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It don't have to just be running and hiding. I mean, the T-Rex coming in and attacking the Velociraptors at the end of the first one is like a hero moment for the T-Rex, even though
Yeah.
most people think about it as just him chasing the car. Like the
Right.
T-Rex is actually the hero at the end of that movie for because it allows everybody to get away. And they ain't doing it on purpose.
Right.
He
But
wasn't
that's
like,
but
let me
then that
save the
becomes
humans.
that becomes why the T-Rex is a hero in every subsequent
Yeah.
movie, because they were like, I guess this is our friend, like
Yeah. He's like, if
I
I can't eat them, nobody can eat them.
have you played
Give
any
me
of
a
the
guess who's talking now with like, let's hear what the dinosaurs are thinking while they're going through this. Let's get inside the dinosaur's mind. Let's get crazy.
I would watch that, I'll say. I will watch that. Have you played any of the video games? Any of
I
the
have not. I'm not a huge gamer, so
they
mostly
aren't
just like Tony Hawk and soccer games for me.
they finally have one that's like an adventure game coming out for like one of the for the consoles that can actually do like first person. All of the stuff
Mhm.
from early days are relics now, but the ones that they had been making throughout these reboots have all had an element of the group of people that have to catch, like you just have to go out and like catch the dinosaurs. That their version of Pokemon Go you
Mm-hmm.
are one of those people and you have to go around. And so like I really feel like if there was just a series about, I can't remember what they're called, but to your point, like a series that's just those like it's seemingly such a big part of their like supporting storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
but not too much a part of like the main franchise. But like it is, if anything, it's the only thing that has remained consistent in the video games, in the in that sort of media. And like, yeah, I feel like you're definitely onto something with that.
Let's just leave the park element alone. Let's leave the experiment gone wrong. They out. It's cool.
Yeah.
We don't have to go back to no more labs. They out. They breeding. They making
And
more dinosaurs.
And if you are going to go to other lab, then I think you really have to push the boundary. It's not, so I have always hated this idea. As I was on the message boards back in the day, like before social media was like it is now, we had just the message boards, and everybody would talk about like fan theories and blah blah whatever. And there's a Jurassic Park 4 script that never got made, but that was like about like human hybrid dinosaurs. And then there's also early talks of like the actual like dinosaurs actually being used in the military. Like these new movies chose to be like, how terrible of an idea is this, and to only kind of talk about it as like it's a bad idea and they're trying to do it but they're not good.
Right.
And I was very much like, I don't want to see this. But now that I've seen what it looks like to only try to do the same thing, like it's like
Yeah.
you can still do something new. You don't have to. It's like, now I'm like, please do that. I would love to see a human, a weird a weird
Yeah.
like lady in water dinosaur creature, like
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
like, so long as it is like pushing the boundary, moving us to like, I think that's the only way to bring it. If you are keeping labs and genetic and the hubris of man element to it, then you have to really push the boundary, I think.
Either we learn our lesson or we don't.
Mhm.
We can't halfway learn our lesson. Like if we learn our lesson, then there's no more Jurassic Parks.
Right.
But if we
Right.
don't learn our lesson, then yes, there's dinosaur people, there's dinosaur police dinosaurs, there's
Yeah.
army dinosaurs, there's farm dinosaurs, there's
Yeah.
designer teacup dinosaurs that women are walking around in LA with dinosaurs in their purses as fashion items. Like there's a
Yeah.
dinosaur skin market in the fashion, and like there's
Yeah.
Bronto burgers, all the stuff from
Right.
the Flintstones.
Right.
Like we
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
that.
I think absolutely.
All right, well, I think we have fixed Jurassic Park.
We did.
Any executives over at Universal want to bring us in, we definitely are taking calls. Uh, James, first, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. Do you
Yeah,
have
thanks for
any
having me.
closing thoughts, and then anything that you want to plug before we close out?
I think we said it all. I mean, I could talk about Jurassic Park for another 12 hours if you let me. I'll just say I have always tried to do this has to do with retreading, but I have always been interested in like what's going on with the kids that have like suffered through Jurassic Park. Like where are they at now? I wrote a short film a number of years ago, and I still haven't gotten around to filming it because I'm scared, but it's about the son of Joffrey and the family that got this that got that settlement at the beginning of that movie, and
Yeah,
like just like what are they doing now, and like
like
what would
fuck
it mean?
dinosaurs.
Yeah. And exactly what would it mean for them to be like, they still doing this shit, like
Right.
they're still doing this park, that I've always been interested in that. In terms of plugs, you can follow me at Rule of Three Inc. And ruleof3inc.com. There are some comic books there for sale. Please, you know what I mean? Go get the comic books. Jeff's done, I mean, mad work for the comics. You gotta come check them out. And yeah, so the Kickstarter for Junior issues 2 through 5, so that's the first volume 1, I guess I should say, will be out within a few days. If you're hearing this on the day that this drops, within a few days.
Yeah, definitely check out Rule of Three Comics. small independent black owned comic company. Definitely
Small
have done some work.
keyword is small.
Hey, everything starts small. It's gonna be big one day, you know what I mean? But James is doing some really interesting, fascinating work over there with comics. Definitely showing it's more than just a superhero medium, which I think is super cool. I've done some lettering, and then we've worked on a couple of things, some character design, things like that. Definitely working on getting my skills up so I can get in that cover art cycle, and then eventually onto like full books. So definitely
Let's
check
go.
out Ruler 3, doing a lot of big things over there. And then Google James, follow him on whatever social media he wants you to follow him on, and watch Good Burger on Paramount Plus.
Yes, please watch it. You might hear my voice as what the burgers. I'm in there. I'm one of the voices. There's a bunch of us, but I'm one of those burger voices. So
All right, cool. And for me, you can follow me, JPNT17, on social media, jpnt17.com. See my art. I got my shop on there if you want to buy some teas. And then definitely follow Grown A Geeks. The QR code in the corner takes you to our Facebook group where most of our conversations happen. And follow us on YouTube. Again, like, subscribe, follow, share, leave a comment. What are your thoughts about Jurassic Park? What would you do? How would you fix it moving forward? And we would love to hear from you. So for James, I'm Jeffrey. Peace.